what advice would you give our young daughters who really love the glitz and glamour of the world around them but also want to be good Muslims? Is there a balance? Secondary school age. So firstly, I think I would look at this more holistically, is that where is this coming from? And where do you think it's coming from? It's probably coming because the people that they're associating with, classmates and so on. I mean, it could only come from two places or three places, right? One is it either comes from the home environment themselves. Maybe the parents are like that. So of course we have to try to identify. So it could be from parents or family members. So you've got cousins who are like this, or uncles and aunts who are like this. That's very tough, right? That's a very difficult one because you can't isolate yourself from your own relatives, right? And there's no doubt about this with human beings. There's no doubt about it. When it comes to glitz of the world, we are definitely influenced. That's why the Prophet ﷺ constantly said, or he said, that whenever it comes to worldly things, always look at people below you so you can at least feel content with what you do have. That's why my dua always to Allah is, oh Allah, you've given us more than so many others in this world. Right? Now if you start looking at some people who have more than you, because there will always be somebody who has a bit more than you, then you're going to want that. So that's why you're only supposed to look at people who have more than you in terms of the deen and closest to Allah, because that's an encouragement. This is how human psyche works. So, for example, I mean, I had no interest in buying a watch, right? My watch has been going on for 10, 15 years, and it kind of works. It's lost its waterproofing. But then once I was with another scholar, and he had this really beautiful Rado watch, and that just created in me a desire, man, I need one of those as well. Right? I saw that about over a year ago, so haven't got one so far, right? But it does. I mean, it's a natural thing that you see somebody else with something, you feel like you want it. Not everything. You know, you have to just... So now that's the one place. Number two, it could be classmates and other people that interact with, other friends. Because one person gets something. We've had this with adults. So for example, once in America while I was there, one husband bought his wife a Mercedes SUV, right? So all the other women started wanting that. So their husbands had to buy it for them as well. There's a lot of this that happens in our community. Not just among women, it happens among men as well. Right? So it's peers. Number three, maybe it's none of that. It's just they've got this thing that they look online and they want these things. So I think the way to balance that is that the few things that you have, we have to teach qana'ah, which means contentment and satisfaction with what Allah has given us. And then after that, anything that is needed, not purely for glitz purposes, we need to try to sift that and distinguish between that whatever we need that's needed, let's do that. That's fine, let's do that. Let's not scrimp on that. Whatever we don't need, then we don't do that. So it's about trying to develop contentment and satisfaction. And there's lots of verses and lots of that written, like in the books of Imam Ghazali and other, Maulana Ashraf Ali Thanwi, rahimahullah, all of them, that talk about how one can learn about satisfaction in this deen. And once you start looking at it from that perspective, hopefully our children will pick that up as well. Just showing satisfaction, showing shukr on what we already have. And hopefully that will help, right? Hopefully that will help. I think it needs to be a training from an early age. This needs to be focused on that our children are not from a young age going in a different direction. So when they do get higher, when they do get older, it may be too late because we've taught them to already love the dunya so much. And of course, at the same time, we try to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for assistance. So minimizing interaction with people who are too indulgent like that. Number two, to understand the nature of things. To understand the nature of something. That this is good or bad in itself and what it's doing to you and what our real focus should be. For that they need a good conversation. But we need to understand what the Prophet ﷺ said about this, and hopefully that should help as well. And of course along with this we try to make as much dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as possible, and may Allah help us all in that regard.